It's the craziest thing. And seeing myself in those pictures, I at first felt awkward and like uncomfortable. And then I was like, just feeling spicy and femme. And like, that's always been my thing. I always wanted to feel like a feminine woman. And I had never felt that way. And now I feel sexy and confident. And it's, oh God, I'm just so grateful, truly.
Welcome to the For Her Kind podcast, where we explore what it really takes to build lasting strength, health, and confidence from the inside out. I'm Dr. Lisa. I'm the founder of For Her Kind.
And I'm Christina, FHK coach and partner. Whether you're folding laundry, pushing a stroller, or on your walking pad, this next 30 to 60 minutes are for you.
Yes, today's guest is someone very special to our community. She's always bringing the energy. Her name is Jill, and she's a For Her Kind client for the past about 6 months now. And she joined us last weekend at our 2025 Utah retreat, where she took part in something incredibly powerful, a full-on photo shoot that she trained for and worked towards for several months.
Yes. And it wasn't just about the photos. It was about the growth that came from pushing past her own self-doubt, showing up and proving what she was truly capable of. And we're so excited to have her here today to talk about that experience and the transformation she's gone through. So Jill, before we kind of dive into it, please introduce yourself.
Yay. Okay. Well, one, thank you ladies for having me. I'm so excited. Um, Truly For Her Kind is like my bread and butter now. It is my passion. It is what I stand for. I will shout it from the mountaintops. I literally want everyone and their mothers to join.
Jill's mom is a client as well.
My dad. Hi, mom. But truly, like, there's something about it. It is pure magic. And not to mention, like, I was a D1 athlete. Like, I've always had structure and I've loved having something to reignite that passion for me and like figure out what I'm going to direct my energy because I have a lot of it. But definitely finding For Her Kind and finding something to work towards, such as the Utah retreat, has been huge for me. But overall, it was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. And yeah, so excited.
Yay. Okay. So yeah, I wasn't able to attend the Utah retreat this year. So I've been really looking forward to you just kind of painting a picture of your experience. We've obviously shared a lot of content on Insta and everything, and I got to kind of like be a part of the group chat just to see what was going on. But let's dive right in. Like, feel free, tell us about your experience. What was your favorite part?
Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, it truly was life-changing. Like I still get the chills when I think about it. From start to begin or from start to finish, it truly was just like a group of women empowering each other. And I know in some way, shape, or form, like that might sound like lame, but it truly was just like people like coming together and just being like, we're going to celebrate each other in any way we can. And that is exactly what it was. So I actually, when I was thinking about like ways that I could really dive into what the trip meant to me, I turned 30 about 3 weeks ago. And I was like, this trip solidified that this is going to be the best decade of my life. I don't know, something about like starting my 30s with such a woman empowerment trip and like celebration of myself and how I'm starting this decade. I was like, damn, like this is really cool. So that specifically just like a celebration of me, but also the women that I was with. I felt like I'm a very social person, but sometimes I get a little bit nervous about um, how energetic I am and how maybe my energy will be received. But the way I was received by everyone on this trip, and there was different personalities as well. So like it's not just someone like me. It's like every single person was welcome, and the inclusivity of For Her Kind is just like radiating throughout the trip. I feel like I met a bunch of people that are now my lifers. Like we all just became like best friends, and it was just so nice. And like the trip has been over for a week now, roughly, and we're all just like lighting up the group chat still. Like it's just this bond that I feel like has been created, and it's not going anywhere, and it just truly is so special. But I also, sorry, I could ramble for days, but basically, I also felt like the trip was like a reminder of the all or something mentality. Like it was like we got to go there and lean into enjoying ourselves, but also keeping our routines while being around people, going out for dinner and, you know, maybe eating outside of our norms. And it's like just embracing the routines and lifelong goals that we're setting for ourselves. It's not like we're just getting ready for something, we are getting ready for the rest of our life. And yeah, I had the best experience.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I loved seeing, obviously, it's so powerful seeing you all bond with each other and make those connections. And yeah, I loved what you said about that all or something mentality. You know, just because the photo shoot was over, it doesn't like you were still making intentional, conscious efforts to, you know, to pour love into yourself. And I love that. That's what I love about these retreats. It's literally all of my favorite, it's literally all of my favorite things into one, including all of my favorite foods. Like we went out to dinner and you know, we got a bunch of like yummy treats and experienced food and Diet Coke. Yeah. I was getting Diet Coke from Costco. He's like, what is it with girls and Diet Coke? Like, he actually said hot girls and Diet Coke. I said, that's right. Honestly, I got it. I got hooked on Diet Coke. I say hooked. Like I enjoy Diet Coke now, and I never used to like pop growing up because I spent a whole month with my grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother loves Diet Coke. So that just, anyways, I know everyone.
No, it's my new thing. I literally fell in love with it, and I'm like, I usually go for Zevia's, but Diet Coke every now and then.
So
It's
my order at Swig, which is for those of you that don't know, I feel like everyone knows Swig now because of the Mormon wives. But my go-to at Swig is Diet Coke with a little bit of lime and a splash of cranberry, which you could totally make at home.
chef's kiss.
Throwing that out
We
there.
love it. Just got to get to work on the crushed ice.
Yes, yeah, the crushed, their ice is so good. We'll literally just go and get a bag. Okay, so let's go back to the photo shoot. Getting a little sidetracked. Loved having you. I'm chatting with you always. So obviously you've been working hard for this photo shoot, right? I think we decided the beginning of January that this was going to be a goal of yours, and that's when you signed up. And so I'd like to know, what was it like going into the shoot after your couple months of prep?
Honestly, I feel like I didn't know what to expect, to be completely honest. I feel like a photo shoot is something that is, I don't think people realize how much a photo shoot truly is just a celebration of yourself and like how far you've come. I feel like what I was leading up to it, I had nerves, I had hesitations for how I'd be in front of the camera. I didn't think I would consider myself a confident person, but I didn't know how I would react in front of a camera. I guess that makes sense. But the way that the hype women behind the camera just like make you feel like you are meant to be there and like this is your show and you have worked so hard to get there. Like I forgot what I was doing. I literally was like, I worked so hard for this and now I'm just having fun. Like it doesn't even matter. Like I'm here in the present moment and I'm having the best time of my life. And not to mention I have like all my like sisters here with me, like hyping me up. And it was just like so incredible. So I think leading up to it, I would also say like the way that we created my prep, I feel like it was so attainable. Like there was no point where I was like, it's an all or nothing once again. I think we can always go back to that all or something. Like I always felt like I was able to still maintain myself throughout my entire prep. And like it was just a very like I think seamless transition into prepping, if that makes sense. Like I feel like maintenance into focus phase into like more of a Utah prep. Like I didn't feel at any moment like I was overwhelmed or couldn't do it or that I was not able to do the things that I still want to do to be human and be myself. Like I felt like everything was so attainable. And then all the way through, you were holding my hand. Like you have been there for me. Like I could get emotional. You literally have been like my rock through so much over the last couple months. And getting to that photo shoot, I felt like yes, it was for me, but like it was for us. And like I feel like you can really see it in some of my photos, which I haven't even seen like all of them, but like the fact that I literally didn't even recognize myself sometimes because I was like, I am like, that's me. I'm that being. I have created that person that I always dreamed of being. And like, sorry, now I've like completely gone all over the place, but like genuinely, I
Okay.
feel like it's so wild. Like I never thought that I could get to where I was in that photo shoot. And it's so funny because I'm a week after and I'm still exactly that same person that was at the photo shoot, if not maybe even a little bit more confident. And I just feel like I am continuously shining a little bit brighter.
I love that. And in doing so, giving permission for others to do the same, and it's like inspiring others as well, which we will get to in a couple minutes. But I just want to go back to what we were talking about with like prep leading up to the prep and how you felt it was very attainable and you're still able to live your life. Do you want to just expand a little bit on the fact that your schedule or your routine includes like a lot of travel and it's not, this cookie cutter routine that you're just rinsing and repeating all the time?
Yeah,
Also,
absolutely.
hold on. I need to know, like, and so do the listeners, like, how long have you been with FHK and what phases have you gone through? So add that
Absolutely.
whole.
Of course. So I think I officially started with FHK in September.
Yeah, 6 month mark.
Yeah. So September, and I went into maintenance for about probably like 2 months, roughly. And so that's basically just like finding your footing. You are just building this maintenance of yourself. And actually, for anyone listening, it sounds intimidating at first because a lot of us have been like taught to think that we need to undereat or eat specific things, but this actually was a moment of like me regaining myself. It was a moment where I was like, wow, I can eat whatever I want, whatever fuels me, because food is fuel. Like this was the beginning of me changing my mentality of like how I actually saw food. And also for anyone wondering, I did or have struggled with food in the past, as I'm sure many of us can relate to. And also body dysmorphia, like just to be real here, like it's just, we are beings that we are beautifully flawed beings, etc. So and essentially I would say that going through maintenance, then into my focus phase, um, honestly, I feel like once again, it was quite a seamless transition. But again, what Elisa was saying, I do not have a cookie cutter life. I have a boyfriend that lives in a different country. I have all my best friends from college in different countries. So I am living my life on a plane. Not to mention, I am a corporate 9 to 5 girly, actually 8 to 6. Shout out to my boss. And essentially, I'm working in the office 3 days a week. We're actually just going to 4. So, I get my 10 plus K steps, 10,000 plus steps a day. I'm getting my 3 workouts in. I'm getting my nutrition goals in. Like I'm hitting all these things, but it's not because it's easy. It's because For Her Kind has created habits and a routine that it makes sense and it's not intimidating. It's not scary. It's very exciting. And it's actually something that like I've built so deeply into myself that when I'm not following those habits, I'm like, I miss, and I go right back.
Yeah, it's like
And
building
it's
a lifestyle you
yeah,
love.
exactly like it truly is just like I won't say it's like it's an adjustment at first, for sure. I'm sure. I'm someone that when I fall in love with something, I like just jump in and I'm like so in. But I will say that it's just it's a program that's a lifestyle. Like people ask me like, what's the program like? And I'm like, it's genuinely like you building your lifestyle. Like it's different than that. It's not your cookie cutter um, program that you're going to jump into and jump out. Like you are literally creating a foundation. And yeah, I hope that that's kind of answered.
Yeah, no, that was great. I'm always telling clients too, or sorry, potential clients when they're talking to me, they're like, oh, they're so quick to be like, but my life looks like this.
Yeah,
But my life looks like this. Like, will it work for me because I, travel this much or I do this? And it's like literally we integrate with your lifestyle. This isn't
yeah.
something that,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, like even to touch on that, like Elisa actually has asked me to send her videos of the gyms I'm working out at so that she can make adjustments to my workouts. I spend a lot of time on Nantucket because that's where my boyfriend lives, and I have a very, very itsy bitsy small gym, but somehow we are still building our glutes and tightening up our core. And I just feel like so good because she's there for me, and she's building this program for me, program foundation lifestyle. Yeah. And it's just it's so attainable. And also I work out of Atlanta. Like we all have our things, and it's constantly moving around. Hi, my
Yeah.
Sadie.
She's sad to be in here. Yes, Kate. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then let's get back to the photo shoot. So when you saw the photos on the back of the camera, how did it
Mhm.
feel looking at yourself in a way that you probably never imagined?
Well, I didn't ever imagine I could look like that. I could literally cry right now because I I genuinely, like, I grew up thinking I was this big boned girl. I always felt like the bigger woman of the group. Um, I I used to get, like, I wouldn't say like roughly bullied, but like people used to like make fun of me because I had red hair and I was tall and like definitely like holding my weight and inflamed and just like existing in a body that didn't um, feel like mine. And people would make jokes about me being adopted. I was like,
So
haha, so nasty. But when I saw the pictures, I kept saying on repeat, I was like, that's not me. That isn't me. And like the beauty of it was me. And I was just like having such a moment because I was like, wow, I look so beautiful.
I'm
Ah,
gonna cry.
no, literally, I was looking at the pictures and I don't know, it's just so cool. Like we did that. I did that. Like it's bonkers to me. It's like I never imagined myself this is going to sound really like not trying to say that I've become someone's goal, but the way that I get an outpour of messages now of people being like, how did you do this? And like, I'm actually inspiring women to like know that like their goals are attainable. Like,
Mhm.
it's, I don't know, like, it's the craziest thing. And seeing myself in those pictures, I at first felt awkward and like uncomfortable. And then I was like, just feeling spicy and femme, and like that's always been my thing. I always wanted to feel like a feminine woman, and I had never felt that way, and now I feel sexy and confident, and it's oh god, I'm just so grateful, truly.
I was watching the videos of you because, of course, like Manuka's filming and she's taking pictures
Mhm.
at the same time, and then all the hype women are filming.
Yeah,
And honestly, again, like we've never met. This is really our
yeah,
first time. But I knew like just through passing that you were this outgoing, like fun, like, quirky dancing girl, right? And I could see you doing that in your photos. And, you say you're like, oh, I felt so awkward, but like, because you were just standing there in your confident self, being who you are, you weren't trying to be somebody else in, maybe some inspirational photo or anything like that. Like you were letting
yeah,
yourself shine through. That's what makes those pictures so beautiful. And honestly, that's what makes all of our clients so beautiful. It's not
truly.
having a six-pack ab or anything like that. It's really just being about being in alignment with yourself and feeling confident to just be who you are with the people you're around.
And I love what you said, like I've always wanted to be feminine and I feel feminine now. And you shared with us before how you've been labeled by others, by society, and even by yourself. So I'd like to just take a second to talk about those labels, like, being big boned or being called big boned, sorry, or being diagnosed with PCOS. Like, how did that shape how you saw yourself and your potential?
Okay, first off, I remember, I mean, I don't need to remember, it was my reality. When I look back, every off season. So I play squash throughout the year. I like went to a sports high school. Like I was like nitty gritty, like so in the thick of it. And
D1
I would,
athlete, right? D1?
pardon?
D1 athlete?
Yeah, yeah. And so, but like it's funny because sure I was that, but like everyone else, it's it's still so difficult to like figure out like what works for you and like figuring out like I was an all or nothing person. So I would train so hard throughout the year. Mind you, I wasn't ever doing weightlifting. So I'd be like on court 2 times a day, working so hard, running, all these things. And then as soon as summer hit, everything would go out the door. I'd gain 30 pounds. And this is like when I was like 13 through 16, and like 30 pounds is a lot for like a youngin. So like I always struggled, and that was a constant struggle. Then when I got to college, it was the same thing. And like at that point, I am consistently training very, very hard, and like I'm on the road a lot for squash. Um, as soon as I'd go home, everything out the door, gain the weight back. And it was just a rotation, just a cycle. And after college, I completely lost myself. I didn't have any structure anymore. And I just rapid gained the weight. I was like, there has to be a reason. I need a label. I need to label this, which is so interesting because I read Dan Connolly, what's misdiagnosis, cancer. Yeah. So thinking about like needing to label something, like I needed there to be like a reason for what I was feeling. And I just needed it. And so I went to the doctor and they were like, you have PCOS. And I go, makes sense. That's the reason why I'm gaining weight. All of these things all aligned. I now have a catalyst. So I started blaming everything on that. But then I would start doing everything under the sun, gluten-free, dairy-free. I would work out like 2 times a day. I would be doing spinning in the morning, berries at night, and every single day, no rest days, of course, because who would take a rest day?
Of course.
And it was just a very intense lifestyle, and under eating, but weight going up, just exponentially going up. And I felt so lost for so long. It was wild. So like that became my norm. I thought that was going to be me. And like, it's funny because I used to have this thing where I was like, I need to sweat every single day. I had this mentality. If I didn't sweat, I didn't accomplish something, but no results to show for it. And honestly, just a worse and worse mental frustration. Felt like giving up all the time. I can't say it like any differently. I was lost. And this honestly for her kind was like a leap of faith for me. And it was trusting the process and like realizing that I can be exactly who I know I want to be. And it's making a choice and finding just finding a different, because I feel like a lot of people get nervous about weightlifting and eating more and protein and all these things. Like there's like a stigma around it for women. And I leaned into that at first. And now I will literally scream it from the hilltops because it truly is and has changed my entire existence at this point. And I know that it will continue throughout the rest of my life. Like that's the cool thing about For Kind. It's not just now, it's forever. And yeah.
Well, I think you brought up something so interesting that because you were an athlete growing up, right? And youth, especially like they develop these skills as athletes which are fantastic skills, right? Like teamwork, showing up for yourself, getting there on time, all these things, like learning a new, I guess, like perfecting a skill, right? But again, it's like you get so used to being so athletic and you're burning so many calories constantly. And then once your athletic career comes to an end, there's always this like shift. And people get so lost and they're like, well, why doesn't my body look the same? Or why don't I mentally feel the same? Or, and it's because your identity was kind of shifting. But I think a lot of women come to us in the same boat and they start to blame and label themselves with these diagnoses. And not to say, like these diagnoses aren't, they're not real, whatever, right? We're not talking about that. But it's more so the idea of that you went and seeked some sort of a label for yourself.
Validation.
Put a sticker on it and blame yourself. But this is why, right? And it's like you couldn't actually, point the finger back at yourself and say, well, why don't I actually take a second and look at the way I'm behaving and what kind of lifestyle I'm actually leading before labeling myself with PCOS. And, I feel really passionate about this because I can relate to it. For me, I grew up with like a PCOS label as well. My
Yeah.
older sister was diagnosed, and she's like, I don't, she's like 14 years older than me, and from a young age, I was basically told, "You'll probably have PCOS too. You better watch out." And it planted this idea that was just like inevitable that with that came this built-in belief that things like fat loss, fertility, acne, all these things like all come down to this label on me and that I'm just going to have a harder time. And
Yeah.
it became this like excuse almost for
Like a
myself.
manifestation almost.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that like, your story right now is really like I hope this really inspires women to kind of look at the bigger picture and instead of seeking like some label to stick on themselves, just start doing some of the work and asking yourself, like what can I do to make a change? Because biggest thing with PCOS really is lifestyle.
It's 1 in 10 women, right? So it hits so close to home for so many women,
Yeah.
especially like of childbearing age. So like you mentioned, Christina, some of those typical symptoms, irregular periods, acne, excess hair growth, and cysts on the ovaries. And the science has shown that lifestyle has been the biggest factor. But the thing with that is we have to make those changes ourselves, right? Nothing outside of us can do it for us. So something we really encourage at For Her Kind is creating space between you and any diagnosis or label, right? A diagnosis can be helpful, okay, but it gives context. It's not who you are. So the problem is when the line blurs and it goes from I have PCOS to I am PCOS, and that's when it starts to feel heavy and limiting, and honestly starts to like manifest into your reality. I know
Yeah.
Christina, you've talked about this already before, but maybe any of those stories of fertility will be more difficult because I have PCOS, and it can be limiting and suffocating, and we just want to encourage women and show them that we have more power than just like this label can make us believe.
All of our clients, they come in and they start in maintenance, right? And it's eating as many calories as you should be eating to just maintain your weight. And what happens is, I want to say all clients come to us, and after they finish like 4 weeks, 6 weeks of maintenance, they're shocked to see what their period symptoms are like and how they're feeling. And that just goes to show you, it's like so many women are constantly in this yo-yo dieting lifestyle and under eating and maybe 1 week they're under eating, the next week they're overeating. And that is oftentimes what's giving us all of these PCOS symptoms.
Yeah. No, 100%. I was
Mhm.
even thinking, I was like, I feel like I was so quick to label myself as a binge to restrict. And it's like there always needs to be like a label. And I feel like it's just finding that understanding that how about we just aim for consistency and that's where maintenance comes in. And it's funny because like to someone who did the yo-yoing, like it was intimidating for me, which is so funny. Like eating eating what would have been just my norm felt like more, but it's really just because I'm understanding what's actually going into my body versus just willy-nilly freeballing it. Um, and it just creates I I I say structure because I feel like I don't want to say it's like a strict structure, but it creates guidelines for you to just have more support and comfort in yourself. And I think that like the different phases of For Her Kind just allow you to understand it. It allows you to get back to like who you are and actually like learn about yourself. Like I feel like I've learned so much about myself, about nutrition, about moving my body, what I crave. It's just it just helps you align overall. And like also for women that label themselves with specific diagnosis, I feel like for me, I can also say like I went to the doctor recently and I don't have cysts anymore on my ovaries. Yeah. Which is also something I meant to share with you, Elisa. Yeah. I have like healed myself.
So good.
It's so,
Wow.
yeah.
There's this trap that like of thinking that you're broken, like there's this built-in reason things won't work for you.
Yeah.
And you were a perfect example of just like learning how to work with your body and not against it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we were always told that there's no cure and there's no
Mhm.
escaping this, and it's just not true. It's finding another way.
Yeah, and
And
just reclaiming that bit of distance between your identity and the diagnosis is where you're
absolutely.
back. And, taking action is, using your power. Um, Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. So just to close
Yeah.
on the chat about PCOS, things like focusing on nutrition, movement, and stress management really does make a huge difference. Jill is a perfect example of that, and so is Christina, actually, and Coach Morgan from a previous episode, if you want to go back and listen to that. But yeah, the key is your diagnosis does not define your potential, despite what, they might make us believe. It's just a piece of information, and you're still in charge. So I think with Jill starting point. So I think a big thing is the fear around maintenance and eating enough coming from a history of always trying to like eat less and move more. And there's kind of like two things I want to touch on is one, learning how to eat enough food, like eat at maintenance is the biggest win in itself, right?
Mhm.
Because women are typically historically good at losing the weight, but do they learn how to keep it off? And that is basically what maintenance teaches you. And so being able to go through that at the beginning, that priming, metabolic priming method, or, setting a good foundation, like Jill defined it, is a really big component of our program. And that's why it's so sustainable. And then the second thing is she mentioned, I always had to need to sweat. I needed to sweat every day. Okay. And now she's definitely not sweating every day, but she's strength training 3 times a week, getting her steps every day. It's typically not that sweaty. I hope not. And then, yeah, the strength training 3 times a week. But the difference between what she's doing now versus what she was doing before is her strength training sessions have a compounding effect on each other. Whereas your what was it, berries boot camp and a HIIT class in the morning? Is that what it was?
Anyone that would take me.
Anything I could sign up for on ClassPass. So basically those things are great. Don't get me wrong. It's so good to move your body and sweat. That's great. But if you're aiming for a specific aesthetic result, you need that to have that compounding effect.
Mhm.
And that is what progressive overload is, and that's what we teach, and that is why Jill has been able to get the beautiful results that she has been able to get.
Yes.
And
And
sorry, we were talking about lifting weights, so you've been able to get this feminine body that you've always wanted with lifting weights.
Who would have thunk?
right? And
Crazy.
let's talk about like that bag of Starburst or no, sorry, Sour Patch that's behind you. If you're just listening, you're not watching the YouTube video, there is a literal Costco size bag of candy that I wish I could just grab through this monitor.
We love an intercarb. Giving me some honestly, it's stuff like that. Like, I don't feel like I need to restrict myself. I'm not gonna eat the whole bag because I know that that won't fulfill me, but I'll have some here and there. And also, I will say that I bring those with me to work out because they give me the extra oomph that I
Yeah.
need when I'm getting a little pumping. And it's definitely suggest trying it because my, oh my, it is life-changing.
I actually love that. We talked about this before we actually started recording, and I feel like it was something really worth mentioning is so, for those of you listening, we use intercarbs, having a carb during a workout or just right before to help give you that extra bit of power. And she mentioned like she literally likes to utilize her candy during her workout sessions, and it helps her feel like she doesn't need to justify the candy or in like some sort of like negative way, I guess. And also, it's like you don't have to restrict yourself because you're like, I know I get to have candy during my workout, so I'll have it then.
3 times a week.
Yeah, it's so true. Literally, it's like it's understanding that like we can have what we want and not needing to restrict ourselves the way that we were always taught, maybe growing up, like from either societal norms or maybe family. I'm sure many people can relate to that. It's like I love my parents more than anything in this world, but like they grew up from a different, you know, a different way of living, and they unfortunately like put some of their thoughts on food on me, and we're all just learning. And I think that's also the beautiful thing about FHK is that someone such as my mom is also learning. Like she's learning how to be understanding how food fuels us, and it's the non-restrictive approach is so important. And I think that's so so healing in itself.
Jill, like your mom signed up. How,
Yes.
like, okay, obviously I don't know your mom. How old is she? And
She's my woman.
aw, is she a woman that like was always, against, going to the gym? We like to really talk a lot about um, the difference between the generations, their view around training and eating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. My mother is a 65-year-old badass. She's she is just iconic. She truly is my best friend, my biggest supporter, but also had a lot of trauma from herself growing up in terms of her relationship with food and her relationship with working out. She she overworked out. She underate so much to a point where like she wouldn't have her first meal until like 2 p.m. in the day. And a lot of this was her relearning, understanding that food is fuel and it's safe. It's not something that we need to be afraid of. And I think that it's so cool to see the way that we always think of our parents as they know everything. So when we're learning from our parents, we take what they say like not with a grain of salt, we take it with the whole damn shaker. Like I literally I anything my mom said to me in terms of eating kind of created a troubled way of me to look at food, and like that's something that we've been healing together. But that was something that I had to also lean into when I got to For Her Kind, understanding that like the maintenance phase of like for me it was eating more calories because I was under eating from what I had learned with my mom. And I think that maintenance allowed me to understand that food is not scary. As I said, it truly is like a form of fueling our bodies and being our best self. And I think that, if I can learn it, if my 65-year-old mother can learn it, I think that like anyone truly can learn and be their best self through this program and this lifestyle.
You talk to your mom about the impact that she made on you while growing up?
Oh yeah. That's been like a whole rabbit hole. Because we had I think that because she had struggled with her weight growing up, she didn't want me to also struggle with mine, but in turn, that turned into a struggle. Um, so it was her trying to encourage me to go to the gym, but when someone encourages you to go to the gym, what do you want to do? I don't want to go to the gym. Like, so it was stuff like that, and obviously I was already an athlete and I was very competitive about that, but it was on my terms. If someone told me to go to practice or go train, I would say, "No, no, no. Let me make this decision." And when, say if my mom would offer me a salad and the rest of the friend group pizza, that would definitely affect me. But these are things that we've uncovered, and truly it is because like generational differences. Like I hold her to no blame at all because it's what she learned and what she grew up with, and it was really her trying to protect me. But it's so interesting the way that the knowledge that we know now is like so important to keep in mind moving forward. Sorry for going all over the place.
Oh yeah, I know it's true. It's like mothers tend to project a little bit on their children, and oftentimes it's coming from a good place. They think, right? They just want the best for you, and of course, like mothers are the wiser ones. We've lived life, all that kind of stuff. And but sometimes it actually can have the opposite effect. And in your case, like you're describing, she didn't mean to do that, right? She really didn't, but it happened, and it's really great that you guys have kind of like circled back to this and you've grown up.
It's been a whole thing. Like also us joining For Her Kind together. Like I'm also trying to like impress upon her now, being like, I need to see you eating right now. I would love to see you eating because like sometimes she falls back into her old habits, like we're not all perfect. We're not all gonna just because we have new routines and
65 years too of doing something.
we're teaching an old dog new tricks.
Possible. It just takes time.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Yeah, healing, we all know. It's not
yeah,
linear.
no, it's not linear. It
That's
is.
also why too, like having support, having each other to remind each other of the intention and of like the destination, the always moving
Absolutely.
goalpost.
Like the way that you ground me, like the Elisa, I'm looking at you as well, Christina, but Elisa, the way that you have grounded me and reminded me of the way that coming back to just being at the root of this and like understanding that it is not linear and everything like growth looks different every day and just really understanding that no matter what, me showing up every day is the like is the best version of myself regardless. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad. But that's why we're here.
yep.
Christina. So let's talk about that then. Like that the mind shift that this has obviously happened over time. And you've mentioned that you started respecting yourself in a different way, which led to bigger confidence. What was that shift like for you?
Oh God, it's like earth plates. It's a big shift. Um, I will say that it has been a journey. It's been it's been a long journey. Me, even 2 years ago, the growth has been exponential. I feel like my most beautiful, confident femme self now. But I've been in the complete opposite as well. I felt that I was living in my masculine energy. I felt that I was masculine energy. Like that's what I embodied. I felt that I was the bigger girl of the friend group. I felt that I was the funny one, and that is what I was going to identify as. Um, and taking taking this incredibly brave step forward into For Her Kind um, is truly the best investment and like the best investment I could have ever made in myself. I feel like I became Jill. Like I've been Jill, but I am Jill, if that makes sense. I feel like I was everything I've been doing up until now is developing this version of myself here. I feel like I've known myself on deep levels in terms of developing my understanding for mental health, for understanding, um, you know, pain and hurt, but also being successful. I know all these things, but this version of myself is like wholly and entirely me. I am confident. I am um, aligned. I'm strong physically and mentally. And I could not be more passionate about something. Also, falling in love with something is so cool. And like falling in love with a group of women and like a routine, like that's empowering. So I will say that just knowing that this this lifestyle will allow you to fully learn to love yourself again. I think
Mhm.
that that's so important.
I just got inspired by what you were saying. I have to ask you, how long have you and it's totally off topic, but how long have you and your partner been together?
Okay. So we've been together for 2 years.
Okay.
Um, and it's so funny because I feel like when people get together, he's my biggest supporter. Like truly. He is like my cheerleader. I am so grateful for him. And it's so funny because I feel like the two of us have, although we're living separately, we're growing together but apart, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. We're just
Yeah.
like we're thriving. And I feel like me thriving is also inspiring him to continue thriving as well. Like
Okay. I
it's
love that.
really sorry.
Because yeah, no, that's exactly what I was kind of gonna go into because I know like, because you guys are doing long distance, right? So you guys have to connect on a bit of I would assume, a more like intimate level in terms of communication than maybe some couples often do. Um, and since you've been doing this program, I would love to know, like, has he mentioned any differences that he's noticed in you, in your energy, in just like in your behaviors? Has there anything he's ever said to you that stands out now?
every single day. Like
Oh,
legit. Like I said, he's my biggest hype man. He is so proud of me. And he will just always be like, you are the strongest woman. And not only physically, like mentally. He's just like the way that you've grown since I first met you has been so incredible to see how far I've come. And like he always like harps on the fact that I'm like very special in the way that I am loving and whatnot, but he's also very proud of me and how I've learned to love myself. Sorry. That's been a big thing. Like I've been through so many different phases of myself, and like I finally like I love myself now, and it's this, although like my relationship is thriving, my relationship internally is also thriving. And I just think that it's really cool.
Mhm.
It looks like you're like just loving life across the board, and that's been really cool to see that transformation in itself from start to finish. Well, not finish. We're still
I
going.
mean, you've definitely seen it 100%. Like I can even think about like our first check-ins, like they're probably like wildly different. I like
Mhm.
I don't know. Sure.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you for sharing everything so far. We are going to go into some rapid fire Jill's truth. How's that sound?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just like the first thing that comes to mind, okay?
Yeah, it's gotta be rapid, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your go-to song when you need to hype yourself up.
Texas by Beyonce.
Love it. What's one movement that makes you feel powerful?
Walking, but also hip thrusts.
One thing you used to believe about your body that you don't anymore?
That I was worthless. Oh God, that's deep. Sorry.
Okay, good.
That was what Spitfire. I would
Hey,
not say
that's gotta be
worthless, like my
rapid.
body.
Equine therapy, she told you that you can have it all.
I know she did. She really did.
And to own that, because like you're kind of having it all right now, and you seem like it's like a little bit uncomfortable, and it's like, no, own it.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable right now, but you deserve this. Okay, what's one thing? Oh, a non-scale win you're proud of?
My confidence in the way that I'm instilling it in others.
One thing you wish every woman knew about herself?
You can.
Yeah, she's worthy. That would go.
Yeah. She is worthy, and you can. Like truly. We all can. We are so able. That's more than one word.
That's okay. But Jill, you've been such an inspiration today. Last question. What would you say to the woman who's listening and feeling stuck in her own labels or struggling to show up for herself?
You're not broken. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You do need to start showing up for you, though. Overall, you deserve to be loved, respected, and honestly, just trust yourself. I feel like that just goes such a long way. And seriously, you're not broken. You just need to lean in. Consistency is key. Trust the process.
I love that. So if you want Jill's type of support, if you're ready to reclaim your own power, we'd love to work with you. Thank you so, so much, Jill. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much to our listeners and to Jill, of course, and Christina. Don't forget to review and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. We'll be back next week with more real stories and no BS guidance to help you become your best self.
Yay. Thank you, ladies.